I'm super excited about today's sponsor. They've sponsored the podcast before, and this is a topic I'm super passionate about. I fear that us as girls struggle with PMS far more than we should, and we really shouldn't. I truly get the worst PMS symptoms. My boobs are sensitive, my face breaks out, my sugar controllings are out of whack. I feel like I'm just a bottomless pit. My mood is not the vibe, and estro control has been super helpful in helping manage those PMS symptoms and making that time of the month a lot more enjoyable. Estro Control is a formula developed by Happy Mammoth, a supplement company dedicated to making women's lives easier. Say no more. Estro Control contains science-backed herbal extracts that help support hormonal health, especially if you are someone like myself who struggles with PMS. It was created to help women feel like themselves all month long and to not struggle with the feelings PMS can cause. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code Alana at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code Alana for 15% off today.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
This is the smell of a warm 3-day-old egg salad sandwich in a wimpy trash bag.
Wimpy, wimpy, wimpy! Blech!
And this is the smell of that same sandwich in a hefty, ultra-strong trash bag with new Fabuloso lemon scent.
Hefty, hefty, hefty!
Smell the difference? When life gives you stinky, get Hefty Ultra Strong with new Fabuloso lemon scent. It smells like clean, freshly picked lemons. So no matter what's inside your trash, you can stop the stink and smell the lemon.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, good morning, angels, and welcome back to Morning Ray. I'm your host, Lan or Alana, and today's episode, we have our first ever male guest on the podcast. We have Chervin. He's the founder of Cymbiotika. I'm sure you have heard of them. They are a supplement company. He's been on podcasts like The Skinny Confidential, him and her show, as well as What We Said, and a few other amazing shows. I'm so incredibly honored to be able to have interviewed him and to have him on the podcast and to give you guys access to his wealth of knowledge. He's truly such a light, such an inspiration, and an incredible person to speak to and to have the pleasure to talk to. So I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. We're not going to do our opening segments today, but a little bit of what you can expect in the episode to come is all about Chervin's wellness and health journey, how he got started in it, how his parents influenced him, what his goals are, and what wellness routines he is committing to in 2023. We talk a little bit about cold plunging and the benefits of that and why we both do that. We talk about wellness trends and also like what is the number one thing he sees people getting wrong in regards to nutrition and health. We talk about Cymbiotika and the differences in their supplements and what makes them different from other supplements on the market. All the good things, so many fun things. We're going to do a little life update for you guys because I thought that could be fun since we're not doing segments. But basically, if you've been following me on Instagram, my Instagram is at Alana Bloomberg. Go follow if you aren't following already. I post a lot of fun things on a day-to-day basis on my stories, reels, posts, all of the good things. But If you've been following there, you would know that I decided that I want to redo parts of my apartment, specifically my bedroom. I've been re-inspired to continue decorating. I kind of like slacked off on my bedroom because I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do with it. But we have a new dresser on the way. Actually, it's supposed to be coming Monday. So when this episode airs, new dresser, sold my old one, well, my current one. Gonna get a little side table, want to get a rug, want to get some cool, fun bedding. Let me know where I should get like fun, stripy bedding. I don't even know what like type of rug I want to do. I think I want to do more neutral, but I'm just like adding more mid-century modern, groovy pastels and like colors and knickknacks and things to the apartment. So really excited about that. Been having a lot of fun looking at inspo on Pinterest. Facebook Marketplace is my number one friend. It kind of sucks because then I can't link things for you, but I love shopping on Facebook Marketplace. It's really budget friendly a lot of the time. You can find really cool things. I love getting vintage pieces. I'm also going to be going to Good Friends Market here in Toronto on Saturday. I'm going to try see if I can find anything there. But just a really fun passion project. I don't think I've ever shared this, but like when I was younger, I used to really want to be an interior designer, and it's definitely coming through again in having my own space and getting to do that. So, super excited and having fun about that. But I will stop talking your ear off and I'm going to bring Chervin onto the pod. So, here he is. Okay, I always like to start off my podcast with a little icebreaker when I have guests on. So, who are you? Where are you from? And what is your zodiac sign?
My name is Chervin. I'm from this great plane of existence called Mother Earth, but I'm born and raised in Southern California with ancient Persian roots. And which zodiac are we talking about? I'm a 1-3 human design.
Okay.
My gene keys is pretty epic, just like most people's. And I am a Sagittarius sun, I'm a Scorpio rise, and I'm a Capricorn moon.
Very interesting. I'm a Leo sun, a Gemini moon, and a Libra rising.
All right, Lion the Lion. I am.
Yes.
I'm all about the lion energy.
Yes, it's very fun and spicy. And I feel like it's so interesting because growing up I was so shy. And I feel like as I've gotten older, I've definitely like come more into it. But I feel like when I was younger, you would have never known unless you were like a close friend or like my parents or like a family member.
Yeah, we're in a crazy world where we have to be somewhat reserved because we don't know what people's intentions are, and whatever trauma you might have had or whatever what anyone's ever dealt with, it calls for that kind of protection, and so
Mhm.
we're in interesting times, so that makes sense.
Yes, for sure. But let's dive into it. Obviously, we're going to be talking a lot about health and wellness, Cymbiotika, everything today. So, I'd love to know, how did you get started in the world of health and wellness? I feel like everyone has their own story, whether it be something that happened to them or they were kind of exposed to it through their parents or some like figure in their life. So, how did it get started for you?
It got started early. I came from a family they took health serious at an early age. My mom primarily was all about sourcing the best foods, and she came from Iran, so they had a massive garden there, and
Mhm.
she was always in the garden and always understanding where all the food was coming from. Kind of what we call farm to table here, and that was just a way of life. And then when she came to America here with my dad, they saw that there was, so much food out there that they'd never seen before in their
Yeah.
native country. And was just like, I'm not going to give my children this. And so that awareness at an early age, and also we had a big garden at our house, just getting involved with soil science at an early age was instrumental. From there, I was, I was mentored by a guy named David Wolf. He's my cousin, and he was considered to be one of the most famous raw foodists of all time. And at the time that he was mentoring me, he was going through I would say, his matriculation into raw foodism. So I was
Mhm.
able to experience that and all the mentors that he had around him. I was a fly on the wall at an early age, and then from there, understanding biodynamic farming at an early age through Waldorf education and Dr. Rudolf Steiner. I got highly involved with just the energy of food outside of the calorie, carbohydrate, fat, protein concept. really understanding the foods are electrical.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming from soil and science, and they're also coming from the sun, and those things come together to produce something that's holy. And so I had that really at an early age, and so that inspired me to look deeper and deeper in the areas of health and well-being and longevity. And I just became obsessed with anti-aging and longevity, and not for like a vanity reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a alchemical perspective of being able to hit peak potential. It's a big part of my dharma here is to get to a level of mastery that is unquantifiable. And part of and a big nucleus of that is making sure that the vessel, mind, body, and spirit, is in the healthiest position possible.
Yeah, for sure. Do you feel like you ever wanted to rebel against these practices? Like, I know quite a few of my friends, obviously, I feel like their exposure wasn't to the extent that yours was, but they grew up in a house where their parents were very health conscious and shopped organically and tried to like choose like the healthier foods. Did you ever feel like the need to rebel if you were at like a friend's house, like you wanted to have like the Oreos or any of the things that like the kids were having?
I can understand that because psychology is pretty clear. That's the takeaway. What you can't have, you're going to want to have, right? And that's kind of like a used car salesman tactic. Instead of forcing the car down someone's throat, you're like, maybe this isn't for you. And
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden the buyer's like, wait, no, I want that, right?
Yeah.
And for me, I didn't really have that much because I was inspired early. I was actually the kid that was telling the other kids' parents, if you keep giving him homogenized, hormone filled milk, you're not going to be able to communicate with him. And that's why he's always angry. I was that like at age 13, where, parents either love me or hate me. And so, but I do, of course, like my whole thing is, everyone thinks that I'm so extreme and so extreme. I'm not. Like I have a good time, and I pick and choose my battles, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that if my gut microbiome is operating the way it should be, and I'm able to break down foods properly, that then I can go and enjoy, a seafood dinner somewhere that I'm not checking everything, or I can go and have a dessert here and there, or I can enjoy a nice bottle or glass of biodynamic wine or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be so militaristic. We're supposed to be able to enjoy certain things in life, but I've grown to learn and love and enjoy things that are good for you.
Yeah.
That's the
I
thing.
feel like for me too, like, I mean, I grew up in a house where there was endless amounts of sugar and processed food. And I was kind of like the black sheep in the sense that I went off and like found these things myself. And I find my friends are sometimes like, well, like, don't you feel like restricted or like, don't you want to be able to have these things all the time? Like, no, like these are my preferences. Like I do these things because they make me feel good and I feel like I'm able to show up in my life like in all areas, not just like in the gym or from a vanity standpoint. And the way that they're interested in these things, I'm interested in those things. And I find that like once you have that underlying why, like it makes it a lot easier to quote unquote stick by it, you know?
That was beautifully said. I have to say you articulated that to perfection. It's really comes down to what's your why. And like
Yeah.
it's not because you want to look special around people, or it's a vanity thing or all those things. It's like, no, I want to feel good. I know the repercussions of constantly poisoning my body. I know the
Mm-hmm.
repercussions of putting denatured sugar in my body and causing blood sugar swings. I know that's what that's going to do by feeding candida in my body and causing skin problems. I'm not going to sleep properly, oral disease. I can go on and on. That it's the key is the knowledge, right? Because if you're not armed with the knowledge, then you don't really have a definition of your why. And so
Mm-hmm.
someone like you that's took the initiative to learn, like many people out there, they're putting themselves in position to succeed. And so it's not a sacrifice anymore. The sacrifice is flooding your body with, 30, 40 chemicals that has no idea what it is. That's the sacrifice.
Yeah, for sure. Like when you start taking proper care of your body and you know why you're doing it, you notice the instant change in how you feel mentally, physically, even spiritually when you maybe indulge in like a normal ice cream or something that's out of like the norm for you. Like you notice how you feel. You're more in tune with your body.
Absolutely. And the momentum is incredible, right?
Mhm.
It's like if you go and dedicate yourself for the next like 30 days hitting it hard. I mean, like 2 hours in the gym, you're on the hikes, you're getting up at 5:30 with the sun. You're doing beach walks, you're grounding to the earth. Maybe you take you do a little yoga retreat, whatever it is that you do. You're not inclined to poison your body during that process, right?
Mhm.
It's actually the opposite. And so I always say, like, momentum goes any direction, and it can go this way and it can go that way. It's just really getting on the wheel and what your reason for getting on that wheel is. Hold on, where are you from? Where
I'm from Toronto.
are you in Toronto right now?
Yes, I am.
Wow, technology is amazing. Okay, yeah, I had
Yeah.
to ask that. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm from Toronto, Canada. My parents are originally from South Africa. They immigrated here in 1990, and I was born here, raised here, have lived here my whole life.
Amazing. Toronto's a cool town.
It is, but it's very cold. Although today is actually pretty warm and nice and sunny, but we had gray for 3 weeks. Like I think I went 3 weeks without seeing the sun.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, you're in that northern latitude, like way up there. We
Yeah.
actually have a property about 4 hours north of you in North Bay, and it's a
Mhm.
250-acre property. And we usually go there during the summers, and it's like spring water and nature and just mountains and trees. We grow all kinds of stuff up there. It's beautiful up there.
Yeah, I love in the summer like going up into like Muskoka and like being in the nature is it's so nice because I live downtown in Toronto, so the city can get to be a lot and you don't realize how polluted the air is until you breathe fresh air.
Totally. Relativity is everything.
Yeah. So, going on to a lot of wellness routines, which are you committing to in 2023? What are you recommitting to? I feel like January was kind of a lot of people's trial runs, and now like February, I feel like even myself, I'm like, okay, now the work's like actually getting started.
That's a good question. I find like our health and our commitment to health is cyclical in a sense where you have cycles, and
Mhm.
and that's how we operate. That's how the seasons operate. That's how we should fundamentally be operating. It's winter time right now, so this is like kind of that yin energy where we go in and hibernate. That's a traditional Chinese herbal medicine perspective, the Taoist perspective, and I live by that because I'm in Southern California. Unlike you, it's a little bit more neutral here, so I'm not really having
Yeah.
seasons. But believe it or not, over the last couple months, it's been getting pretty cold here, and we've had rains, and I really love that, and it allows me to cultivate inward stuff where I can go into my
Mhm.
rejuvenated self. I am committing. We're actually setting it up right now at our house. I'm getting in a new cold plunge, and I'm committing to some serious cold plunging over the next 3-4 months. Like I'm committed to be plunging at least 4 or 5 days a week, and mixing that up with my regular training and my infrared sauna and my hydration techniques and my sunbathing and all that stuff. This is all fundamental and key for stress regulation, for anti-aging, for self-empowerment, for fatty acid oxidation. I can go on and on. There's
Mhm.
so many things from this. And so I'm really committed to that goal. I'm also committed to my yoga practice, and my yoga practice isn't like a fundamental practice like a vinyasa or anything like that, but it's just ultimately being in a state of constant connection with my body and my breath. And so, I'm working on always staying in good posture. let me position myself properly, and haven't being in my breath. And whenever I have the opportunity to just go into some kind of stretch, and so that's really feeling good to me.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like cold plunging is definitely something that's being talked more about on social, especially in the health and wellness space. Down the road from me, this place called Othership opened up a few months ago. And so it's like infrared sauna, and then you do the ice bath, and it's like a whole thing. They have up classes that are a bit more like energizing, they have down classes that are a bit more calming and meditative. Both focus on breath work. And then there's also free flows where you can just go in and out of the sauna and the ice bath yourself. For someone who maybe hasn't tried cold plunging or going through those circuits, what kind of benefits would they feel or receive by doing that? Like, what is the intention in you doing that so that someone could maybe be inspired to try it themselves?
Well, I think first and foremost, before we get into like the details of specific biomarkers that get activated in sirtuin
Mm-hmm.
pathways, we can go down all that rabbit hole. But it's just more, it's your mind. I mean, it's like breaking through a fear barrier and like putting your body into a state of survival. So they call
Mm-hmm.
that hormesis. That which does not kill you makes you stronger. And so if you drop into like, 38-degree Fahrenheit water, I don't know what that is Celsius, you are basically, your body is trying to survive. And
Yeah.
by your body trying to survive, you're turning on all these genes based on that. And we've gotten so dormant and domicile as a species that the lack of survival is killing us. Think about that for a
Mm-hmm.
second. It's the lack of like having to fight for your food, or having to hike 4 miles to get water, right? Or having to fend off, your house from invaders or whatever, the neighboring tribe. These things, these are survival activations that keep your immune system going, that keep your body strong. What are we doing right now? We're laying in front of a TV, smoking vapes, and getting, Uber Eats, and they're driving it up to the front door now. Like
Yeah.
and I'm generally speaking, but I'm showing a contrast of what's going on. And so the thing with a cold plunge is that who wants to go sit in like sub-freezing water? It's not comfortable. Of course not.
No.
But once you get going, it becomes addictive, just like anything else. And that right there, like I'll tell you for myself, like I much prefer sitting in my jacuzzi and going in my sauna and getting a massage and being
Mm-hmm.
relaxed, as opposed to like having my wits exploding in ice cold water and my spine about to burst. But once you get out of that cold plunge, you're just like, fuck yeah, like I
Yeah.
can do anything. And once you start getting momentum with that, it becomes firsthand nature and becomes addicting. And so like I'd rather get addicted to something that's going to give me an extra 10 years of life and also break through a mental barrier than the opposite. And then, just feeling kind of like, wait, I just couldn't commit to that. So I think there's something so powerful about breaking through that fear barrier and that pain barrier that allows you to be able to flex everywhere else. And another thing that I've noticed with cold plunge is, because it's activating such levels of stress, things that normally would trigger me don't trigger me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can sometimes I could go into like a Zen retreat for like a month or do a Vipassana, and then I'll come back on the freeway and some guy cuts me off. I'm ready to kill him. Right. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's just some kind of primal thing. Right. But once you start cold plunging, something like that doesn't really bother you anymore, because
Yeah.
you're not getting activated. You're not going into that like fight, flight, hide, panic state anymore, at least not as fast. And so that's a powerful technique for coping with stress and being able to manage everyday stuff, because we're in crazy worlds. People got to pay money to drink clean water. People got to pay to survive. They got to pay their rent. They got to do all these things. We're under a lot of stress. We have crazy relationship partners. We have crazy,
Mm-hmm.
all these things. Family. Yeah, we go on and on. There's a lot of stress. Something like a cold plunge could just zero you in and help you cultivate like no other.
Yeah. What I've noticed is like I'm someone who struggles a lot with like performance or situational anxiety, and going into the ice bath, it's almost as if my anxiety has a switch and it just turns it off. Like after going through that and like being able to just like, also because you're focusing on your breath work so much when you're in there, because you're trying not to like hyperventilate of the cold, and like you're just so in tune and like in the now that you don't have time to think of like what if, should have, like all these anxious intrusive thoughts. You're able to just like be present, and it's done wonders for me.
Another great point. You're really hitting it on the nail. That's a big piece of it, is that you can't really escape in that situation. And in my opinion, escapism is fundamentally one of the main problems we're dealing with. Is that
Mm-hmm.
the whole like social media, the mainstream media, the way everything's set up, is that they're building devices and pathways for escapism, where it's like, okay, how do I not look at myself? How do I not look at my situation? Let me just escape and run over here. Whether it's food, whether it's this, I can think of anything, right? And those are addictive behaviors. But
Mm-hmm.
when you jump in a cold river or a cold lake or your cold plunge or whatever the hell it is, you're really got to be hyper present there. And that's a really good, keen observation you just made, and something that's really powerful for your future endeavors.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I feel like I'm always asked from my audience, because obviously majority of my audience are females between 18 to 34. and their lives are constantly changing, but they like want to have a routine of what they're doing for their wellness and their mental and physical well-being. What would be 3 tips that you could give to someone who is looking to be as consistent as possible in these practices, so that whether they're out of routine or in a different environment, they're kind of able to still hold on to like those non-negotiables and not feel like they're off track?
That is a really good one. I could think of so many. All of a sudden, my brain just started flooding with like all these techniques and all this stuff. But I think outside of just like, diaphragmatic breath and all that kind of stuff, we always got to go back to the fundamentals. And
Mhm.
so, one of the core fundamentals that I can think of is you got to sleep. You got to properly find a way to sleep. If your sleep is dysregulated, meaning your circadian's all over the place, you're
Mhm.
never fully going to be metabolically fit. You're never fully going to be mentally fit. You're never fully going to be emotionally fit, even spiritually. The dream realm is really important. And we need those 7, 8 hours. We need that deep sleep. We need that proper REM, all that stuff. We need to go into the delta waves properly. So, however, you can get your sleep and set yourself up for success, you have to do that. Now, I get it. 1 or 2 nights a week or whatever, we're going to go out. We're going to have fun. We're going to might have a few drinks. Whatever people are doing, they're doing it. But just you got to try to get consistently 5, 6 days a week of proper sleep. So that's making sure the temperature's right, making sure you're in a fully dark room, making sure that whoever you're sleeping next to, you're compatible sleeping next to. That's another thing that we got
Mhm.
to talk about. Based on doshas, which is an Ayurvedic way of looking at our energy centers and how we vibrate and how we gather heat versus where we off gas. A lot of people just don't mix well sleeping together, and you got to come to that realization. So that's one of my non-negotiables is that. I would say getting proper hydration. If you're not hydrated, forget about it. All the things that we
Mhm.
do with supplements, all the stuff we do with food, comes second place, a distant second to proper hydration.
Being super busy can make it really easy to fall into a dinner time recipe rut, or even with your lunches. Any meal, honestly, can get you into a rut, especially with a busy schedule this fall. You can keep mealtime exciting with over 40 recipes to choose from every single week, so there's always something delicious to discover with HelloFresh. It's truly a no-brainer. It does all the shopping and meal planning for you. Ingredients arrive at your doorstep, pre-proportioned and ready to cook, along with pictured step-by-step recipe cards. It's never been easier. I personally love HelloFresh as a way to get exposure to new recipes, make my life a bit easier as a busy 20-year-old in the city. And I love that it's worry-free, it's super easy, it's convenient, and gets delivered straight to my door. Go to HelloFresh.com/50Ray and use code 50Ray for 50% off plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/50RAE and use code 50Ray, 50RAE for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit, and thank you for sponsoring today's episode of Morning Ray.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
So making sure you're drinking clean spring water, making sure that you're getting the right amount of electrolytes and sea salts in your water or in the foods that you eat, things of that. That's really, really important. And understanding if you're someone that's sweating a lot more, you're going to have to replenish that properly. Without proper hydration, everything in the body, every biochemical synthesis process in the body ceases to function properly. And you have a declining rate of, behavioral patterns and limited action in the body because of that. It's very evident to that. This isn't rocket science. It's truth. Number 3, process of elimination. Elimination creates success. So everyone always comes to me about detoxification and proper cleansing techniques and all that kind of stuff. Well, the first and foremost that you want to do is you want to remove all the things in your life that's burdening you. That's key right there. And that could be anything. That could be the food that you're eating. That could be the water that you're drinking. That could be the friends that you keep. That could be your sphere of influence. That could be the social media that you're connected to that's doing you absolutely no good. It's just another form of escapism and creating more problems. Your lack of inactivity, all of those things. So before we can think of this like hyper epic exotic strategy for, lengthening our telomeres and strengthening our, biosynthesis of, metabolite regulation, we have to eliminate the things that are a burden to us. That is the true form of detoxification and cleansing. All the herbal cleanses, all the colonics, all the enemas, all the 21-day dry fast, water fast, all that stuff is fantastic, but it means nothing if you continue to pollute your influence. If you continue to allow those things, and you are also the gatekeeper and your soul knows that. I think there's a conscious problem there that people start to self-loathe themselves because they know at the end of the day they're the problem. And so when you have a bunch of people that have this like in their subconscious, which we know is infinitely more powerful than their frontal conscious, then they hate themselves. When they hate themselves, they self-loathe, then they don't practice self-love, right? And at the core of what we're talking about is self-love. And if they're not self-loving themselves, they're off-gassing that energy around everyone around them. And that comes in the form of like parasitic energy, vampiric energy, not meeting someone halfway, non-compromise, being a total dick to someone, being just, out of sorts. And that becomes like a whole epidemic in itself. And that creates, that spreads like wildfire all over the place. So I think at the core, it's, those could be the fundamentals that can help evolve somebody.
Yeah, I like how like simple it is. Like I feel like everyone's like, oh, you need to do a million one things, and like at the baseline, it's really not that hard. You already kind of know. You kind of are just like overlooking these things. I feel like everyone overlooks sleep. They're killing it in the gym. They're like being like super like in line with like whatever diet they're trying to follow. Like they're doing everything else, and they forget that like sleep is so important, and they forget that that's also when everything in your body like recovers, and that's where a lot of the progress is made.
That's right. Yeah, if you miss out on sleep, you miss out on everything. Sleep is actually is how we detoxify our bodies.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why like when you wake up, your tongue's covered with stuff, you have things in your eyes and all that kind of stuff. It's because your body's just gone through a metamorphosis of cleansing. It starts in your GI tract and travels its way into your blood, then your lungs, and your brain, all that stuff. And there's also a very nice Ayurvedic way that they've laid it all out, which I resonate with. And so that's why if you're fasting for like a week, usually when you hit like day 5, day 6, you really don't have to sleep much. When I do my like longer fasts, usually around day 4, day 5, I'm like fully energy and I don't have to sleep because my body's not having to break stuff down and remove it. And so, yeah, I think fundamentally we have to make a choice, and this putting it off to next month or next week and all that stuff, it's not working for us. And I see the results of taking action now, right now, this present. And that could be anything that's, listening to this conversation or, picking up a new book or, finding another activity that's not in front of your TV or electronics, but it's more outside in the wilderness. Those are things that create momentum in your life and inspire you.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say is like the number one thing you see people getting wrong with regards to like nutrition and health? Like what's the one thing you see happen over and over again or hear over and over again about?
I think it's getting too tied into the isms, right? So it's veganism, it's vegetarianism, it's carnivorism, it's all these things. I think that's a very misleading path, and it warps someone's ability to become flexible and work and do what works for them. So I'm a self-pronounced qualitarian, also could be called a flexitarian. And I go through waves of learning and feeling and being intuitive with my body while looking at the data and understanding the research. And I understand some person's position on choosing something through moral high ground, and I'm never going to take that away from somebody. But you also have to figure out what's working for your body and what's working for your lifestyle. So I think it's taking a broad approach, but a disciplined approach to your health and understanding the parameters that you can work through. And I think by having flexibility in your health approach, you're giving yourself an opportunity to really grow and expand on your health versus being so limited based on ideology. And ideology should never come in front of your health. So again, flexibility, trial and error. I'm all about. I think everybody is a scientist. I think everybody should have direct observation, and we have to do that with our lives. Not just listen to someone like me, not just listen to someone over there. I always say that in every lecture that I've given and every conversation that I have. This is just my brand of bullshit. This is what has been working for me. This is how we've looked at the data. This is what I've observed. This is what I've researched. This is who I've counseled with. This is the fundamental results that we're seeing. We are growing in this way. It's feeling good in this way. But again, this is what's working for me. If this is interest of you, then take the discernment, make a decision, and follow up and investigate. I think we've lost this ability to investigate for ourselves. We're basically looking for a one fix all, a pill, a this or that, and we just want to lean on somebody. That never works. I don't care if whoever's talking has the answer to the highest level. The person has to call it within their free will and take action. It's that free will and that action and that first step and that follow through that creates lasting effect. That's like, it's like placebo, right? Just think about the placebo effect, right? We can do a controlled study and we can control a group, and then we have the non-controlled group, and we can have this drug or whatever. The sugar pill and the drug for the first like 2 weeks will effectively work the same because the placebo is so strong. The mind is that strong, right? And so if we give people the tools of things that don't work, it's not a sugar pill, but it's actually something that works, and they're all in because they've investigated it, they've researched it, they've understood it, they understand what glutathione does, they understand what shilajit is, they understand what methylfolate is, they understand what these compounds are, and they've taken the step to want to move forward with that. That's a game changer. Now we have lasting effects, people understand it, and they're committed to it. And so that's really where we have to go. I'm so, Cymbiotika was not a company that's a supplement company. We are a organization that's built on knowledge and information, and we are a movement in that sense. The supplements come last. I would say our following and the awareness that's happening, which is why we are the fastest growing supplement company in the world right now, by far, not even close, is because of that. It's because we're education first. I don't want anyone taking any of these formulas without knowing what they are. It defeats the purpose, in my opinion. And so this goes with anything. And that's one of the quotes that I have is, how you do anything is how you do everything.
I love that. I can tell from like all my interactions with hearing you talk and Cymbiotika and everything that education is the forefront, and you're not just trying to sell product for the sake of selling product. I feel like there's too many supplement companies and too many people who just take supplements for the sake of taking them without being educated as to why to take them, how to take them properly. Like they're just essentially throwing away money, and supplements can be used if you're educated well and understand why you're taking them to really benefit you. But if you don't have that knowledge, then like there's no point. You're just like wasting it.
Yeah, it's unconscious behavior. It's like someone who just drinks coffee every single day and is not even really thinking about it. It's just become a pattern. That's unconscious, right? People that are smoking cigarettes every day because that's their form of laxative, or same with coffee, that's unconscious. That's when things start to go awry. If you're conscious, like, your coffee is your ritual, and you hydrate properly before, and you add healthy fats and minerals and shilajit to it, now you've created a ritual, and that is your reward, and you're using that coffee as a platform or a springboard into getting action done, right? I respect that. I honor that. It's the unconscious behavior. It's unconscious decision making, unconscious relationships, unconscious this. That's what's leading us into this realm of a disaster. And we just dealt with it over the last 3 years with this whole situation we all went through. And that's a direct observation of why it's so important that we all take ownership of our health. We have to take ownership of it. No one is coming to save us. This like mentality is giving our power away. That's like one of the most powerful things that can influence anyone is that you have to become your own doctor. You have to become your own scientist. You have to become your own advocate. You have to really stand up for yourself. That's how it was hundreds of years ago. What or how the hell did we get here now? It's out of control. Like how many
Yeah.
people I walk down the street and go, can you tell me what the liver's function is? You know what I mean?
They don't
And
know.
most people have no idea. They would say, oh, well, the liver is for detoxifying. Okay, that's one thing, but there's a million other things. The liver was what geotags everything in the body and determines if it should be metabolized or not. The liver is developing hormones and producing all kinds of stuff. I can go on and on. The liver is the alchemist of the body. And so that's just an example that, you know, maybe this isn't their karma. Maybe they don't care and they're just in that life. And that's fine too. But don't come to us, you know, when you're suffering and all this pain. And that's why we have economic problems. That's why the medical system's failing. So it's just like, I'm just like, hey, come on. If there's ever a time right now, especially after what we just went through over the last few years, to take ownership of your health, it's now.
But see, like the sad thing is that people just want quick fixes. They're not willing to do the research and put in the work and take care of themselves 360, like every single day. They just want like that quick fix. They're like, oh, I'm broken now. Like, can you give me something that will fix me instantly? Like, it's not always going to work like that. And even if like they are given something, it's just a Band-Aid fix a lot of the time.
Which is the pharmaceutical route, which is the
Yeah.
over-the-counter drug route, which is all that stuff, right? That's treating symptoms. We call that symptomology. And I'm so over that. I want to sit in the pain. I want to feel what's going on. That's why we go to the jungles and we do ceremonies and we go sit in those types of situations and we live those lives because I want all of that trauma. I want all of that information. I want it all front center. I'm not trying to mask it. That's masking symptoms, right? It's like, where are you putting yourself? You're putting yourself in such a dangerous situation because at some point, the more that you just try to quick fix or mask, at some point you can't do that anymore. And that's when
Yeah.
people go into autoimmune. That's when people go into dangerous pathological disease. And the disease rates are increasing at a fast rate right now. It's unbelievable right now. I was looking at some of David Sinclair's work. He's a Harvard geneticist. And he has this whole thing where, you know, we are in our health span. And then at some point that flips into the disease span. And once you're in the disease span, you know, everything starts to unfold. And we're talking about metabolic diseases. We're talking about cardiovascular diseases, neurodegenerative diseases. I can go on and on. And to reverse out of that is infinitely more difficult than to stave that off. Right.
Yeah.
So we have to really be preparing today for tomorrow. And again, like we talked earlier in the conversation, it's not about sacrificing. It's about being intelligent and making intelligent decisions and knowing what our non-negotiables are, you know, and knowing that, hey, maybe I can't be partying 4 days a week. You know, maybe it's like, okay, I'm going to crush it, kick ass. And then maybe I'm going to, for 1 week, I'm going to go berserk down in Mexico and have the best time ever.
Yeah.
And also find balance through that. It's like, it's being strategic, you know,
Yeah.
not like losing years of our lives because of, you know, decisions that are just so out of touch with what the truth is.
Yeah. So for someone who is looking to start now to start bettering their health in all capacities, what would you say is the best place to start, whether it be with looking at Cymbiotika or other avenues? Like, where would you say, like, this is where you should start and then go from here?
So I think you and I touched on a bunch of those, right? So like how you do anything is how you do everything, how you're going to sleep, how you're properly hydrating. I think movement is so important. I think you could see how I'm saying everything before I talk about supplementation, right? So it's all that's so important. Making sure you're flexible with your diet and you're sourcing your diet properly. You're not just blindly eating food wherever you go out. You know how they're cooking food. Every time I go out to a restaurant, I'm asking what oils are you using. You know, I always recommend that they use avocado oil or ghee or butter when they cook food. That's a non-negotiable for me. I will not eat cooked vegetable oils or trans fats. I will not put that in my body ever. So it's these fundamental things. And then from there, for supplementation, it's just what we did with Symbiotica is we wanted to fill every hole, every gap, and we wanted to make products that weren't supplements; they were actually food-based formulas. So your body not only can reap the benefits of it, but it can properly absorb it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole adage that says you are what you eat, right? Eat an apple a day. You are what you eat. Well, more importantly, you are what you can absorb. So if you can't absorb them, you're throwing your money away, you're throwing your time
Yeah.
away, and you're putting pressure on your kidney and liver and what else? Who knows what other residues are in those products? So look at your supplements carefully. Look at the ingredient list, all the minor things, all the other ingredients, the preservatives, the flavor systems. If you
Mm-hmm.
look at Symbiotica, you will not find one thing that should not be in there. One thing. And I would say get your mineralization. We provide the most shilajit on earth, which is an Ayurvedic mineral pitch resin, which has become like a whole movement in itself. It's a ritual, especially if you're a coffee drinker. It can offset a lot of the acids that form from coffee because coffee is highly acidic and
Mm-hmm.
causes issues long term. Shilajit has 84 trace minerals plus more on there that we don't even know of. It's plant. It's basically plant material that's decomposed in the earth. It's a cornerstone of Ayurveda. It means the conqueror of weakness. It's part of my ritual 4 or 5 days a week. We just came out with a inflammation formula that is a game changer. We have compounds in there that are as close to pharmaceutical drugs as possible. Big pharma couldn't get their hands on it because it does too many things. Pharmaceutical is very one directional and linear. This is
Yeah.
dynamic. So one of those compounds is called nobiletin, which is a polymethoxylated flavone that comes from the peels of mandarin orange. And this compound literally neutralizes the oxidation rate and inflammatory response down to the subcellular level. And it's just thousands of published studies on this that affect obesity, cancer, heart disease, brain disease. I can go on and on. It's unbelievable. And we paired that with a compound called PEA, which is palm oleoethylamide, which is vastly superior to CBD. And it's compared to in trials as more effective than a couple Advils in terms of pain relief.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually doing wonders for your system as opposed to blocking a pathway, like a pain pathway.
Yeah.
That product in itself is freaking unbelievable. And so I'm just so hyped on that. We have so many epic stuff. We're coming out with a revolutionary formula that's called Para X, and that's trademarked. And this is going to be going after parasites,
Mm-hmm.
candida, Lyme. We're going to be going after fungus and mold in the body. We're going to be going after all the pathogenic stuff, HPV, all that stuff, Epstein-Barr, all that stuff. This is a revolutionary product. And I've been working on this for 18 months with our team.
Mm-hmm.
That comes out in a few weeks. That's going to be an absolute game changer. I feel like pathogenic invaders and foreign invaders is one of the leading causes of autoimmune and other diseases and stress. People
Mm-hmm.
are, their skin's flaking, they have psoriasis, hair's flaking, they can't properly sleep, irregular heartbeat. They're probably just infested with all kinds of stuff, and so this is a nuclear bomb going in there and mitigating that damage. It's really like the art of war. I'm really hyped on it. Never been done before. This is a game changer. Wait till you see it.
I'm excited. I feel like I don't know what side of TikTok I got myself onto, but like everyone's doing parasite cleanse or they're talking. I don't know. I'm just like on that side. So I feel like your timing with launching it is perfect as well for that.
And we're not taking the weeds and seeds approach. All the stuff that you're seeing on TikTok, you see on YouTube, parasite cleanse, like take wormwood and black walnut. I'll take all these
Yeah.
herbs, take capsules, all that stuff. That's all fine and dandy, but that's a weeds and seeds approach. There's no thoughtful design there. There's no strategy. You're just taking a bunch of biomass herbs and flooding your system with that, where only 1 or 2% of that has the active compounds in there. And so you're actually doing a disservice, in my opinion. We've taken a very strategic approach. We're taking pure isolated compounds, just their actives, and we turned them into these microspheres. So there's like these microdots, and we
Mm-hmm.
encapsulated them in a liquid, and that liquid is oregano, clove, monolaurin, olive, all together in this oil, and we ozonated the oil. So we ran it through a triple pass ozone system. Are you familiar with ozone?
No.
You've never
Enlighten
heard of
me.
ozone?
I've heard of it, but I don't know in depth or anything.
So ozone is unstable oxygen. It's O3. And it's what our atmosphere creates to cleanse the earth. You know that smell after a rain? It's like that kind of that's ozone. And so there's technologies that a lot of naturopaths and a lot of doctors are using now to clean the body. And there's machines out there that it's almost like a dialysis. It pulls your blood out, ozonates the blood, kills all the pathogens in the blood, and then recirculates the blood back. Ozone's used in filtration systems, it's used in jacuzzis, it's used in sanitary systems, all that stuff. And so ozone gets trapped in oil. So it's a method on how you can trap the ozone. So we're going to ozonate those powerful, powerful oils that are already antiviral, anti-parasite, antibacteria. We're going to ozonate those so it'll lock in there along with the microbeads. And we have some crazy compounds in those beads. One of them is called CAPE, which is caffeic acid phenyl ester. It's the active compound in bee propolis. You ever heard of bee propolis?
Yes, I have it.
Okay. So bee propolis is one of the most powerful immunological defense compounds in the world. There's studies on it that it can kill HIV. It's unbelievable. And so we have those compounds plus other ones in this. This is a game changer. This is revolution right now. I can't I'm so excited about it. I've been waiting my whole life for something like this, and to be able to be at the forefront of actually designing it and creating it, I can't tell you, Alana, what that actually means to me psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. It's really something else.
No, it's something you should be so proud of. Like, you're revolutionizing the space. Like, it hasn't existed. You're an innovator, that's incredible. Most people copy or like make something that already exists better, but you're paving the way.
I really, really appreciate that. We are definitely trailblazing. And I also want to lament that I'm just one of many, because my team at Cymbiotika, I'm sure you've talked to some of them, they're so incredible.
Yeah,
and
they're great.
They're all in, and everyone is like so passionate, and it just makes my life easier, makes my team's life easier. And so when you have a team that's running with pure intention, this is the result. I'm able to be in a position to do this. I would not be in a position to be able to have this level of execution and strategy and resources if I didn't have this incredible team working right beside me. So it's an unbelievable journey, and it's all for humanity. It really is.
Being super busy can make it really easy to fall into a dinner time recipe rut, or even with your lunches. Any meal, honestly, can get you into a rut, especially with a busy schedule this fall. You can keep mealtime exciting with over 40 recipes to choose from every single week, so there's always something delicious to discover with HelloFresh. It's truly a no-brainer. It does all the shopping and meal planning for you. Ingredients arrive at your doorstep, pre-proportioned and ready to cook, along with pictured step-by-step recipe cards. It's never been easier. I personally love HelloFresh as a way to get exposure to new recipes, make my life a bit easier as a busy 20-year-old in the city. And I love that it's worry-free, it's super easy, it's convenient, and gets delivered straight to my door. Go to HelloFresh.com/50Ray and use code 50Ray for 50% off plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/50RAE and use code 50Ray, 50RAE for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit, and thank you for sponsoring today's episode of Morning Ray.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
I love that so much. And to finish us off, I'm a sucker for a good morning routine. It's what my whole brand got built off of. My 6 a.m. morning routine turned into 5 a.m. at one point. But I would love to hear what your morning routine is. What are your non-negotiable steps? Why do you do them? Just give us like all the details.
Okay, so now I know you don't follow me on social media because you
No.
wouldn't be saying the word morning. Okay.
Night
Which is
routine?
word magic. We say rising because we're not
Rising,
mourning
okay.
anything. It's incredible. The word magic is so powerful. So we say grand rising because we
Okay.
are activating ourselves in a rising methodology. And so for me, it's the most important part of the day, but it also starts the night before. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to sleep with a belly full of food. I'm not going to sleep polluted with blue light and non-native electromagnetic frequency. If you have Wi-Fi in your house, make sure that's turned off. I don't go to sleep with a phone next to my head. I don't care if it's on airplane mode. None of that's around me. I'm not going to sleep in a room that's not pitch dark. I'm not going to sleep in a sleep that's not 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Like it has to be cool. It has to be
Mm-hmm.
everything has to be set up. That's first and foremost. I'm not drinking too much water at night, so I don't have to wake up at 3 a.m. And take a piss or whatever. I'm making
Mm-hmm.
sure I'm getting deep sleep and I'm rising. I'm rising with the sun every day, right? So I'm usually in bed probably around 10:15, 10:30. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going, I'm waking up, somewhere around 6 a.m., 5:45, 6 a.m. I rise with the sun. I immediately hydrate with spring water and a sprinkle of sea salt, maybe a lemon, maybe 2, 3 days a week, maybe a shot of apple cider vinegar in that water 2, 3 days a week. I get up, I move my body around, I splash my face with ice cold water. From there, I go outside and I stand on the earth, butt naked, waiting for the sun. The sun comes right around the crest here, and I get 15 minutes of just solo time, me time, breath work, everything that I'm grateful for in life, thinking about everything I do have, not thinking about anything I don't have. Now, obviously, we live crazy lives and stressful. So I do this to the best of my ability. Sometimes there's pressing issues. Sometimes there's a lot of stuff I got to deal with. But for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I want to be achieving every rise. I go back into my house. I make myself tea. I drink Shilajit, usually the first thing I do. And I also have some molecular hydrogen. And that is the beginning stages of my rise. From there, it's some kind of movement, some kind of stretch. I do my cat stretches, my back stretches. I move
Mm-hmm.
my hips. I hang upside down. I get some push-ups going. That's usually how I start my rise every day.
I love that. So I have a question though. So you wake up with the sun, but your room is dark. So are you using an alarm? Is your body naturally waking up early? Like,
Naturally
yes.
waking up.
Okay.
My circadian is naturally waking me up. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I hate alarm clocks.
Alarm clocks are terrible. They're dangerous. They should only be used in case of emergency. It's like, you have to be somewhere at a certain time because it's some kind of impending thing. That's
Mm-hmm.
it.
What are your thoughts on like the Hatch sunrise alarm clock? Have you
But I
seen
don't even
those?
know. I've never even heard of that.
Okay, so there's this alarm clock that essentially it's like a semicircle and it's supposed to mimic a sunrise. So instead of it waking you up with like an alarm, which no one likes, it slowly gets brighter and like mimics how the sun would rise.
That's cool. I'd have to look at it. If it's using an incandescent bulb, which is a full spectrum light, I'm into it. If it's an LED light, maybe not. I'm not
Okay.
sure, but that's a novel technological design, and that could be better than someone's.
Yeah.
If you're like in delta wave sleep, or you're even in like REM, you don't want to wake up to that. It's just
No.
really it's hectic to your adrenal system. It's hectic to everything. And plus, you want to recount your dreams. That's another thing. I kind of left that out. is I'm doing an analysis on what I just experienced in the dream state, because the dream
Mm-hmm.
state is real. We think it's like just this, fictional place that our brain recalls from something we experienced. No way. The DMT wave in the dream is real, and as part of this existence in this dimension or whatever this life is. And we have to I think it's really important to be cognizant of your dreams. That's a Carl Jung philosophy and
Mm-hmm.
awareness too, is that by activating a real deep connection to your dreams and taking a step forward with that, it's going to be so fruitful for your everyday life.
I like never, the only time I remember my dreams is if I wake up in the morning and go back to bed, and then usually I have some sort of nightmare and it's not fun.
Interesting. Yeah. So that's usually a lucid state. When you go back, when you wake up and go back, you're kind of in a lucid state where
Yeah.
you kind of like know that you're dreaming. Right.
Yeah.
And that's actually interesting that you have a nightmare there. I usually have my best dreams because as soon as I know I'm dreaming, oh man, you should see what I create.
Like sometimes they're good, but I don't know, just I guess because like I wake up because the alarm goes off and then I'm not in a good headspace. So then I go back to bed and it's
That's
not fun.
different. Well, that's different. Okay, I didn't know you're waking up from an alarm.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense because you're already you just hit panic.
Yeah.
I mean, there you go. Right. That's literally a panic state. Waking up to a unharmonic sound is panic,
Mm-hmm.
because the way that our bodies are fixated is if you wake up through panic, that means that someone's trying to kill you. Think about that.
Yeah.
That's how we evolved. You're sleeping in your tent or you're sleeping in your tree house or whatever, and some kind of animal or some war party or whatever is coming. That's the truth. Look, we're newly in these modern world.
Yeah.
This artificial box that we live in with artificial like electronics and artificial refrigeration and art, this is all new.
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies didn't evolve into this. We weren't designed for this. So like those things matter. So if you're waking up to that means like someone's coming at you with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
No wonder you have a nightmare.
So we're gonna finish things off. I always like to have the guest say one piece of advice. If the listeners don't take anything, I really hope they do take everything though, but just one piece of advice. It could be a word of wisdom, it could be a quote, it could be a resource, anything that you want to leave the listeners with.
I think everyone needs to come to this awareness that they are the master magician of their reality, and you are not a victim. You did not incarnate into this crazy world to be a victim, to live in poverty conscious, and to live in scarcity mentality. Our time on this earth is so short. Rumi said, our lives are a drop of water in the ocean of time. And to fail at the awareness of your own beauty and your own strength is the biggest failure, epic failure, and just disaster, in my opinion, of all time. We all have the infinite wisdom and the ability to connect. And if you're hearing my voice and Alana's voice today, something called you here. And it's an honor to be able to share some version of my truth with you all. Thank you.
I love that. I love that. And where can the listeners find you? Where can they find Symbiotika? Plug yourself out.
Let's plug. Well, I'm on Instagram, as you know now.
Yes.
So send me a message there, Chervin333. So my name is pronounced Chervin.
Okay.
And my podcast season 2 is about to start. It's called Wake the Fake Up.
I like that.
It's epic. Yeah, you're gonna love it. If you haven't listened to season 1, go listen. I have some crazy epic people on there. World number 1 athletes, best scientists, incredible doctors, thought leaders. Season 2 is about to start. We've already filmed 5 of them. We're filming another one with my girl Sofia Esperanza today. She's coming over. She's epic. And yeah, Cymbiotika. I think you know where to find Cymbiotika. We're changing the game, and we're huge in Canada right now. It's unbelievable. Our Canadian growth is so insane. We're actually growing faster in Canada than we are domestically in the United States.
Really?
Absolutely. And I think that's because I have a big Canadian following. My cousin Dave Wolf has a huge Canadian following, and we are we are one of very few companies that were committed to Canada, where most companies domestically US just didn't want to bother. We're not shipping to Canada. We've built shop in Canada, so we distribute in Canada, and I'm just big on Canadian people. I have a lot of respect for them.
Yeah, I feel like so many, because for a while before I started working full time for myself, I did a lot of marketing in the natural organic CPG space. And a lot of these brands that I wanted to get my hands on would only prioritize the US. And like, they didn't really, even when they came to Canada, a lot of the times they would fail because they just didn't understand the Canadian demographic. They just assumed that it was exactly the same as an American. And I just feel like we're always forgotten about. So I appreciate that you're here for the Canadian people, because I feel like I always have to go to the US if I want anything that I see online.
And I knew that, and my team knew that. We felt that. I mean, I've been around, just like you, I've been around health and wellness my whole life. And so I've seen what Canadians had to go through in order to get certain things, and just, it's kind of draconians, the laws over there, to a certain degree, as far as like
crazy.
It's crazy. Like, everything gets held up, and it's like, it's so wild. It's like, what the hell? What year are we? And so, so because we make the best products and we do things the right way, it was easy for us to be able to build infrastructure within Canada and to grow that. And so to have so many Canadians subscribe to Cymbiotika and reap the benefits of those discounts through subscription, it's a game changer for everybody involved. So we're hyped to do that. We love Canada.
I love that. Thank you.
Alana, this was awesome. It was really good. I'm stoked we did this. These are usually far in between right now. I'm so busy right now with so many things, but I'm glad that our team was able to set this up. And say hello on Instagram and let me know when you're going to launch this. I'll shoot it out on my channel as well. And
thank you.
A lot of good takeaways here.
Yes, I think so too. Thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Morning Ray. If you'd like the episode, make sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, as that is how you can help support the pod. Make sure you are following us on Instagram at Morning Ray Podcast. And I will chat to you guys next week. Love you so much. Bye.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply.